This is what I believe is the revamped Lost Temple map. That's what I've heard people calling it, and none of the other maps look anything like Lost Temple, but this one does. So, and this is my first time looking at the maps, so it's going to be a first time for all of us. Let's see if our Fog of War hacks work. They do. Hallelujah. And as you can see, I imagine it's called the Lost Temple map because it looks a whole lot like Lost Temple. You have your main, feeds with a narrow ramp right into a natural, but you can see the difference here is that this natural feeds into these destructible rocks that go up to this area, which is an island, as you know, on the original Lost Temple. And again, destructible rocks feeding down, and here is your third, same as regular Lost Temple, the high yield minerals. Very wide open spaces, much fewer nooks and crannies, fewer narrow chokes to go through and fight. This is obviously a response to some of the concerns with Lost Temple, too many narrow chokes, which make the map Terran favored, supposedly. And so you could still play this as a 4-player map if you chose. You could do 2v2, as obviously it is perfectly mirrored with the single Xel'Naga tower in the center as opposed to the two in the previous version of Lost Temple. And just so you know, the reason why I'm doing this is I love feedback. Obviously, I want you guys to come and play these maps, send me replays of the test maps, because I'd love to see how it works. But this is map number 1. No more islands. Instead, we have destructible rocks with ramps, and far less terrain and chokes. And of course, there is, perhaps most importantly, no ledge here where Terran can do their tank and Thor drops that was such so complained about and continue to be complained about on the current Lost Temple. Alright, let's get out of here. I surrender! You beat me! And let's very quickly jump right back into test map number 2. Coming after me. I'm going to jump right in. It looks like they're doing new backgrounds for all these maps too. Maybe this is just a test realm thing. I don't recall this background. I just did a hand motion that you couldn't see. Always funny. So I'm out of memory and the fog is lifted. I always like to look at the what's happening underneath the main stage, so to speak. Alright, well, let's take a look. Here we have another it's a good size map. Looks like a good size map. Looks like it could be another 2v2 map, just like the previous map we just looked at. We have our main base with some hidden areas like we see in a lot of the maps. Metalopolis and Xel'Naga Caverns have those hidden areas. Feeds down another narrow, not as narrow as like a jungle basin, but also not as wide as like a scrap station. But that's a nice ramp, I think. That's a good size ramp. Feeds right into your natural, and again, destructible rocks, kind of got a Kulas ravine feel, although not nearly as crazy. So just those two bases for your immediate usage. Then you have another ramp over here feeding down into what would be a third, with destructible rocks feeding to the center of the map, which also go back to a fourth shared base. This would be a fighting fourth, which if there were a 4v4, the players would fight over this. I'm sorry, 2v2. Players would fight over this map, over this base. Again, covered with destructible rocks and female Carracks abound. Mirrored, of course, on the other side, hidden Xel'Naga towers on either side in the center of the map, and I suppose the main feature here on this map, or it would be a main non-feature, would be that there are no high-yield mineral bases. All right, so that is test map number 2. Let's take a pickety peek at test map number 3. And I am trying to go quickly through these, mostly so so we can fit all this on one video. That is really the goal here. If you're curious about how to get to the test realm, you go in your main StarCraft folder, and there will be, if you're in North America, and you have a full retail copy of StarCraft 2, if you go into your StarCraft 2 folder, in my computer, your C drive, go to Program, Files, StarCraft 2. Inside that StarCraft 2 folder, there will be 3 executable files. One of them will be called the Public Test Realm, or the PTR, something along those lines. Double-click on that instead of your normal StarCraft 2 icon, and it will load up a patch, and you will be able to get into the PTR. You have to redo everything. You have to redo all your video settings, all your hotkeys, anything you want. If you actually want to play, it's like doing a fresh install, kind of. So yeah, layout. So here's test map number 3. This has a very, just by the looks, it has a Blistering Sands kind of feel to it. Very wide open main base, lots of room, lots of areas where you could do drops and things like that. A narrow ramp, again like Blistering Sands, that feeds down back here into this natural, but also feeds forward through destructible rocks to another base over here, more centralized, much more difficult to defend. You could get, if there were a base here, it looks like it would be in range of some siege tanks on the ledge. This closer the natural, your natural expansion, again, more destructible rocks. There's destructible rocks all over these new maps, into another, into your neighbor's natural, again with this this big cliff. I think that's probably going to be we're gonna hear some complaints about these cliffs, but they're at the 3rd base. It's not like there's cliffs here at your natural, so you're going to be able to, I mean, that's going to be one of the fun things I think about this map as you play, is you're going to see, okay, well, how can we use this high ground to keep this person from taking the 3rd? We do have high yield expansions in the center, like Metalopolis, being guarded by these Xel'Naga towers. Again, very easy to harass anyone taking these high yields by setting up tanks on these ridges over here, or even storms perhaps could reach from this area right here and get into the worker line. But again, very balanced. Could be a very small 2v2 map, obviously, though it is designed for 1v1, but we do have mirrors on all 4 corners of the map. And that is map number 3. Jumping quickly to map number 4. This map seems to have a bit of a Metalopolis type feel to it. Again, a new background. I like it. It kind of looks like maybe like a junkyard kind of feel if the background's made for the map. All right. Again, a big main base area. Not a whole lot of room. There is room to the south here for. Ooh, look at that guy! Big old robot cleaning up junk. That's pretty cool. but lots of areas here for aerial drops, muta, harass, phoenix, that kind of thing. Not a whole lot though in the back of the main. We have 2 ramps. Nope, no we don't. Scratch that. 1 ramp that feeds down into your natural expansion. This is a very resource starved map, it looks like. Looks like you've got these 2 close positions. Ooh, very probably deceivingly close. I bet you this rush distance really isn't all that small. Oh, that's pretty close though. These would be considered close positions. I wonder if it's going to be like Shakura's Plateau where you couldn't spawn in cross positions this way. But I doubt it. It seems like it's pretty equal either way. It's a little bit shorter this way, obviously, but so all you have on this map is your main, your natural expansion, and then you can fight over these high yield for a third, or you'd have to take another main or natural as your third, obviously. 1 single Xel'Naga tower that doesn't seem, probably lights up the center. But if you don't use the center, probably would not come into play whatsoever for your game. So once again, I wonder, like in these 2 positions, Xel'Naga Tower probably wouldn't come into play until the very late game, until you are, you know, working at those other maps across the way. So that's map 4. Let's look at map 5 real quick, and I'll get out of your hair for this movie. Test map 5. This one looks pretty cool. I like the color schemes just looking at it. And let's add a little area here. Very easy, not looking to get attacked. And let's jump in. My daughter, Stargirl, would call this the purple world. It's the purple planet. And she'd be correct, because it's purple and green. Spawning a Zerg looks almost like a bird's nest sitting as the creep sitting on this rock surface. Alright, what do we got? We have our main base on high ground. We have destructible rocks on one side, leading to destructible rocks on the other side of this narrow pathway into what appears to be another very large main base area. So this is kind of like a Shakura's Plateau scenario, but with a very small pathway between. I'm guessing you would never ever spawn in this close position. That would be crazy. So, since that's the case, this narrow ramp leads down into what would be your natural expansion, but again, very wide open area here. Very difficult to defend natural. And then we have this destructible rocks leading up to what would be a third for either player, and divided on both sides by those destructible rocks. Mirrored, we have the double Xel'Naga towers on the shared ramps above. Very good, because people normally would not use the ramp to get anywhere on the map unnecessarily. So if you have units up in those towers, probably would not be seen. And of course, each side has a third base, which would be actually it's not. There's just 2, just the 2. Yep, just these 2 high yields, protected by destructible rocks in the center here. Perhaps, no, probably not visible by the Xel'Naga tower. But if you had units out here, obviously to protect it, then you would be seen by the Xel'Naga tower. All right, so there you have it. A main, a natural, and a wide open area. Lots of area of lots of air space over here in the back of your natural for harassment as well. Obviously, this pseudo island area going to be very difficult to defend, though the double ramps would make it somewhat easier. And your high yield. This seems like a very pretty map. I bet all of these maps will be fun to play on. So hopefully you guys will take some time, take a look at them, get on the Test Realm server, play some 1v1 games, or play some team games. We'll look at the team maps coming up in just a moment. Alright guys, thanks for hanging with me. Keep climbing that ladder.